What is going on, YouTube? Northeast Ohio here for a little Trae Young breakdown. Uh, so hopefully this works out better than the John Morant one, since I did that one, and about 16 hours later, he twisted his ankle and was out for 3 to 5 weeks. So if I do this one on Trae, and he gets hurt in his next game, I might have to just retire from making content because I will be officially cursed. So, what I wanted to do today is go through a bunch of Trae Young stuff like we did with Ja earlier this week and see if anything has slipped through the cracks value-wise on Trae. So we'll be living a lot in market movers today. Lots of charts and graphs. If you want to check market movers out, links are in the description down below with the coupon code as always. Like, comment, sub, all that jazz. And let's go ahead and get into this. So the Trae Young market has been extremely hot the last 2 weeks. So it's basically the season right before the season started. And prior to that, it was super hot when the NBA offseason happened and they made all the deals and all the jazz and brought in all the players and all that shenanigans. And what happened is his prices spiked way up. His base PSA 10 Prizm was all the way up to $650. It ran up over the course of about a week, and then it pulled back. And it was down about $100, got down to about $550, I think. In fact, I can tell you the exact amount because I have it here. Yeah, about $550. And then the season started, and he has looked great. The Hawks have looked great, and his card shot right back up again. So what I have done is ran a ton of market movers charts on a bunch of different Trae Young rookies. And I started the charts from December 20th, which was when his prices had cratered back down after going way up from the offseason height. So all these charts run about 14 days. This is being recorded very late on Wednesday night, December 30th, after his game against the Nets tonight. So any data from today will not be included into these because market movers updates overnight. But I wanted this to go out first thing tomorrow morning. And nothing too crazy happened that game. The Hawks did lose, but Trae Young looked really good. The Hawks in general looked really good. And they gave the Nets a run for their money. So, I don't think anything crazy happened enough to drastically alter Trae's card prices tonight. Let's start off with just base raw Prizm. Nothing crazy. So what has that done? Because what we want to do is look at Prizm to get our baselines for how much stuff has gone up. Usually I stick to graded PSA 10s just to keep things simple because condition on raw cards can drastically affect sale prices, but I was just curious on the raw, so I figured we'd start there. His raw base Prizm over the last, we're just gonna call it 2 weeks. It's a little bit more. Actually, it's basically exactly 2 weeks. The last 2 weeks or so, this card is up 100%. It was $100. It is now over $200. $222, $108 to $122 last average sale. Okay, cool. So his base Prizm raw has doubled in value. Keep a note. Make a note of that. Write that one down. We'll scratch pad. We'll scratch. Okay. Let's look at his Prizm PSA 10, PSA 9, base, and silver. Now, these are not up as much. That's not a surprising. Sometimes raws actually fluctuate more than the graded. But we could see on the charts here, these are basically all up 30 to 45%. Base Prizm PSA 10 up 35%. It is now at a new all-time high at $760. Basically, for an average ending price anyway. I think a couple sold way higher than that when things were going crazy. But the average is sitting at about $750, and this is probably going to be an $800 card very quickly. PSA 9 sitting at about $225. That lines up about right. So no real extra value there. 3x-ish is about where it should be. When we look at the ratios, where is base Prizm 3.51 x the 9. And these ratio tools are very handy, and they are part of Market Movers Pro. You do not get those on base Market Movers, which you could do the math, but it's nice just to click on it and it's just there because I don't like math. Silver's up 35% and nine's up 40%. Interesting note here. People always talk about buying 10s rather than 9s. Over the same time period, the 9s are actually up more. This is not that uncommon. A lot of the times the 9s by percentage will actually go up slightly more than 10s. Not always, and there's some variation there, but most of the time, not always, but in general, you will usually come out ahead buying the equivalent amount of 9s that equal the same price you would have paid for a PSA 10. This plays better on medium to lower end stuff than it does super high end stuff. Like Lucas Silvers, this did not play out that way. But on medium to lower end stuff, sometimes you're actually better off buying 9s by percentage. So this is kind of our baseline. I'm going to call our baseline. I'm going to split the difference. We're just going to call it 40%. So a 40% increase on his 2 primary cards. PSA 10 Prizm base, PSA 10 silver. I guess we'll actually call that 35%. The 9s are up 40% to 45%. So let's call it 35% for his 2 primary cards. Prizm, base, and silver. Okay. So now, knowing that, like we did with Ja, let's look at some of his other popular cards to see what hasn't shifted yet or has shifted already to see if anything got left behind. And this is a very basic way that I use Market Movers when there's a player I am interested in. So I'm essentially walking you through the same process that I use when researching players on Market Movers that I am looking to potentially buy, like I did with Ja Morant. This is a prime example of how I work through some of this stuff. There's lots of different ways to use it, but this is one of the primary ways that I like to use it. So I looked, and I had to go deep dive on this one. I'm not going to lie. Spoilers, there's not a lot of stuff that slipped through the cracks. In fact, there's hardly anything. So on the Ja one, I did not go through all the different Prizm variations. On this one, I did to try to find something that maybe slipped through the cracks, but everything is up just about on pace where it should be. So his green Prizm, and once again, I started these all as December 20th through today, so about 2 weeks. Green Prizm PSA 10 up 47%. PSA 9 only up 15%. So there might be a little value there, but we're really in the weeds when we're talking about PSA 9 color variations. But there could be a little bit of extra value there, but that's about, actually, no, that's definitely pulled farther ahead. That's more like 4x than 5x, or 4x rather than 3x on the difference. But on the variations, on the colors, sometimes there's a little bit of a larger gap, so that's not as crazy. Usually on base cards, it's about 3 to 3.5x as a general rule of thumb. On colors, sometimes that gets a little skewed because the PSA 10s will sell for a bigger prime, or premium rather. So how about his pink cracked ice PSA 10? Also up 48%. So these are actually outpacing his base and silver, which you don't usually see. All right, cool. PSA 9 only up 3%. One hasn't sold for a couple days, so that could be explaining some of that. I did not check on these to see if there's many out there. Some of these are very low pop as well, which makes it tricky. The one that I found that I think I like the most out of everything we're going to look at, and it's higher end, is the red ice. One, it's a great looking card. The red on red with the jersey, always a plus. These are only up about 14%. The pop count's only 135. When I was prepping for this video, yes. So as of the time of recording, there is one available at 2,200, and then you could see 2,500, 3,000, 3,000, and nothing else even close. This right here is probably the best deal that I have seen on most of the Trace stuff that I looked at. If I had 2K laying around for a card, if I just didn't spend about $1,000 on Josh stuff right before he got hurt, I would strongly consider snapping this up. This could be a huge card with the color match jerseys. Anytime you can get parallel color that matches jersey color, big win. PSA 9, when I looked at this one also hasn't moved. There's just none for sale. There's one for 1,300. So yeah, that's cool that the last one sold for 575, but if there's none on the market, there's none on the market. Another little handy thing I like about market movers, you just click on the little dollar sign. It takes you right to a very well-tuned eBay search result link or list that shows you typically just the card that you're looking for. Let's continue down our list. Red, white, and blues up 26% and 42% on 10s and 9s. Ruby Wave only up 10%. And once again, we have the color match. I prefer the red cracked ice to this. Pop counts are actually very similar. Red ice is a little bit lower. So let's see. These are sitting at about 1,300. One has not sold in 4 days. I'm going to bet I cannot find one for a $1,300 price. Nope. Only one available, 2,200 or best offer. So sure, the chart says that's a good deal, but these lower pop count cards get tricky. How about 9s? There is a 9 for 450. Nope. And an auction with 2 days left on it. I will keep an eye on that auction just for shits and giggles. So out of everything that we've looked at, to me, the PSA 10 red cracked ice is the best deal so far. And like I said, spoilers, that's going to remain the case for a hot minute here. So let's look at some other stuff. Let's hop over to my personal favorite, Optic. I really like Optic, especially 2018 Optic. We got Optic base, we got Blue Velocity, we got Hollow, and we have Shock. There was a couple I did not. Actually, I looked at some others, but just none pulled because none have sold. Once again, 18 Optic pop counts are extremely low. Look at the base card. There's only 1,200 of these of base. Just the base Optic. Let's flip back to Prizm really quick. There's 8,000 base PSA 10s. But we come over here. Base Optic up 46%. Now, I did not look at PSA 9s on these. I could turn that on really quick. Let's try this. PSA 9s also up 30%. So once again, no extra value there. And that's kind of the whole purpose of this. We want to invest in Trae Young. Is there something that we can get that is still, in addition to having the wonderfulness of Trae Young's future, but also has a bump coming because it slipped through the cracks of everything else going up and people just forgot about a particular card. Happens all the time, but as you can see here with Trae Young, it really hasn't yet. Another one that I like, Optic Blue Velocity. This one has not changed when I looked earlier. So 500, but one has not sold for almost a week. The cheapest one available was $7.99 or best offer. So once again, the 30% price increase is basically baked in already, even though one has not sold for a couple days. Whoever got one of those for 500 got a really good deal. The pop count on these are 115. I love these Optic colors. They're extremely low pop count, all of them. PSA 9, basically up the same. Once again, one is not sold for your few days. I could not find any available. Optic PSA 10 Hollow up 25%, about right where it should be. Probably should be up a little bit more. Probably already is up a little bit more. PSA 9 up 20%. Once again, right where it should be. Hyper Pink PSA 9. I'd be shocked if there is one of these available. $200. That's not terrible. There's not a PSA 10 in here, which is weird, unless just none have sold. But for only a pop count of 130, those PSA 9s for 190 and 200 don't seem terrible. I'm going to watch both those. And there's an auction. I'll throw an eyeball on that one too. Actually, let's see if there's any 10s. Oh, it's not going to let me. Nope. So that's not too bad. Once again, very low pop count, only 130, and that's in a PSA 9. Optic purple. Love purples. Once again, PSA 9 here. Last sale, none of even one is sold since. I doubt there'll be any of these available. $349. Once again, baked in 30% price increase already, actually more than that. We look at the Optic Shock. Not a fan of these. I think these are kind of ugly. Up 45%. PSA 9 up 30%. So in Optic, nothing jumps out. Nothing. Unless you can maybe swing a good deal on that PSA 10 that's listed for 800, but I doubt they're going to jump at that. I will say I really like Optic base for the price, just in general, just because of the lower pop count. And I'm a sucker for that rated rookie logo. Gets me every damn time. All right, let's hop in the select really quick. Just looking at PSA 10s here, not 9s, but you can see selects basically up the same. 20%, 25%. And when I looked, there wasn't even any available at this 360 price point. They're all 450. So it's basically right in line. And once again, select very low pop count. 646 on the concourse, 220 on the Premier. A lot of people do not like this Premier design, so it hurts the price of it. Personally, I think they're both a little bit ugly, except for the courtside, which I did not put on here because I don't have an extra car payment book to put towards a card, because courtsides are extremely expensive. So select, no real value here. Once again, this says it's only up 20% at 360. But if I click this little link here, the cheapest one available is 450 or 425, excluding auctions that are still running. So not much in select. So as you can see, not much Trae Young is slipping through the cracks. The market as a whole are just gobbling up everything that they can find of this guy. All right, let's go a little lower tier here. I really dug deep on this one. Don Russ and Hoops base PSA 10s. Don Russ up 30%. Hoops up 13% with the ending average at 155. I don't think any of these were available. Cheapest one was 175. So you factor in the extra $20 there. It's basically right in line with everything else. I am not a huge fan of Hoops and Don Russ, but if you need to get into something a little bit cheaper, I get it. Don Russ has a little bit better name brand. It's a nicer looking card, in my opinion. The Hoops has a lower pop count, but I think it's quite ugly. I'm not a big fan of that neon green court in the background. Once again, has the rated rookie logo on it. These are both paper products. These will go up in line with everything else, but the ceiling's really capped on these. Let's look at my underrated gem that I always like, Revolution. This was another one that kind of slips through the cracks. So this one actually went down the last 2 weeks, which is weird. 275. Once again, if I pull this up, the cheapest one available is $300. And then there's a couple out there with best offer buy it nows for $325, $349, $349. So for around $300 to $350, I actually think the Revolution's a pretty good deal. Because at $275, it's down 3%. So, even if you just go up, even if you go to $300, that's basically a 10% increase. When everything else is up 20 to 30%, people forget about Revolution. And once again, if you're a pop count guy, 203 of these in a PSA 10, extremely low and a very nice looking, fun looking card. So for around 300, like this one for 300 does not seem terrible. 19 people watching it. These couple for 350 and 325, maybe you can throw some offers in and get them under 300. But the Revolution is probably, of the lower end stuff, is by far my favorite to this point, because really the only other thing that jumped out to me was the red cracked ice, and that's $2,000. Last but not least, another one that's actually intriguing, but this is going pretty low end. Status PSA 10. They have two different base versions of Status. I believe one's a Walmart version and one's a Target version. Either way, the pop counts are very low, 145 and 114. And this one's up 60%. This one's actually flat at 199, but when I looked at this one, there's actually one for sale for 159 and 169. So limited ceiling on Status, like Lucas statuses, go for about 500 ish, 400 to 500 ish. Last I checked. And that's Luka. So you have a little bit of a capped ceiling here, but don't get me wrong. Eventually, these will go up. Now, the only other thing I did not look at that I would actually buy before Status, but it's not in Market Movers, so I did not pull the data on it, is Threads. I really like Threads as a lower end product. 2018 Threads. There's not a 2019 version, though there was Threads cards inserted into, I think, Chronicles, maybe. One of the sets had some Threads stuff thrown into it. But 2018-19 Threads are really nice looking cards, I think. They're cool. They have the different jerseys. There's tons of variations. There's a million different ones, which is probably why it's not in Market Movers. It would probably be a nightmare to track, because there's white jerseys and black jerseys and red jerseys and this, that, and the other thing, and sparkle parallels and golds and all the shenanigans. So it would be a nightmare for a database like this to try to track something like that. I'm guessing that's why Threads aren't in here to begin with, though some Lucas are. I have not checked prices on those to see what they're doing, but typically those are slow moving as well because people forget they exist. I would look at Threads over something like Status, but Revolution is my favorite of the non-core four, if you will. Well, there is no Mosaic this year; it's part of Prizm. So I would put this after Optic and Select and Prizm. I would personally go for a Revolution before I would go for a Hoops or a Donruss. And for around $300, if you can get those ones at 350 down to 300, that seems reasonable to me. And I think you're still got some room to grow there. Lucas, for example, on these go for about 500 or 600, I think, if not more. They might actually be a little bit higher. Let me look really quick. Compare the two. Now, Luka's a little bit of a different breed than Trae. Let's pull up the two together. We will do this really quick and then we will get out of here. Revolution. So yeah, Luka goes for about 600. Trae goes for about 272. Once again, really nice looking card. I wanted to snag one of these Lukas prior to everything going crazy, but I did not get around to getting one, so that will have to wait for another day. Actually, down a little bit. Luka's been pretty flat lately. Flat, not fat. Yes, he came in the camp out of shape. He does look a little fat, but his prices are flat, FLAT. So, and once again, very low pop count on Luka, 441, twice as much as Trae, just because he's a little bit more popular. So, but yeah, that's all I got for you guys. I tried. I really was hoping to come out of this Trae Young video with a bunch of hot things for you guys to go after, but everyone's buying everything Trae Young. So jump on the bandwagon and just buy the one you like the best, I guess. There's nothing that's slipping through the cracks. So go with whatever you like. I will personally be looking at some Optic color variations, though I'm not in a huge market for Trae. I have some stuff already, but nothing crazy. I wouldn't mind getting a Revolution and maybe some Optic color, maybe in PSA 9. So we shall see. But the two best things, in my opinion, are the Rev and that red cracked ice, the one specific red cracked ice for around 2K. I think it was 21.99 or 2100 even. That seems too cheap for that card based off what the rest of the market has done and the fact that it's a red cracked ice with Hawks colors and all that jazz. So that's all I have for you guys today. We will catch you guys on the next one. Not sure what the next one's going to be yet. Yeah, no idea what the next one's going to be. So like, comment, sub, all that jazz. Have a wonderful New Year's. Be safe, all that stuff. And peace.